the audio that was in stereo will get upmixed. So it's as simple as that. Buenas, buenas. Welcome to Music Marketing TV. I'm Kevin Ochoa, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I really enjoy, and that is NUGEN Audio and their Surround Suite bundle. Here we have 4 plugins. We have Halo Upmix, Halo Downmix, ISL, and SEQ-S. Here we have the overview of some of these plugins on the website. Here we have the Upmix, which is a tool to make you upmix your audio, whether that's 2.0 or 5.0, into a larger format. So that could be bringing a stereo track to 7.1, and I believe we can go up to 7.1.2 because there is also height as well. Now, there is also the downmix. So this is the opposite. It's bringing audio that's even up to 7.1.4 and bringing it down to stereo, or 5.1 or 7.1 or whatever type of versioning in between you need, you can have it. And then there's also ISL, and this is the surround version of ISL ST. And we covered ISL ST inside the music production or producer bundle video that we covered. Now, here is the full surround version, like I said. So you get true peak control over all the channels, and that's, I believe, to 7.1.4. And finally, we have SEQ-S, which is an EQ that allows you to do EQ matching and also provide equalization per channel. So you can have up to 7.1 channels, and you can EQ and control the frequency response of all those channels. Okay, so this is meant for post-production and broadcast, but with the addition of Dolby Atmos and Apple spatial audio, we can, safe bet that more people who are working in music production were actually going to get surround software like this. Now, I'm going to cover the surround suite and also a tool which is not part of the surround suite right now, but I hope that eventually it becomes part of the surround suite. And I'm simply going to cover it because I do believe, it should be part of the surround suite, and eventually, hopefully, it gets incorporated in it. And that's Halo Vision, which is an analyzer that goes up to 7.1.4, I believe. And you can see different types of meters that are in surround. You can see a correlation meter, a haze meter, and over here we have a location haze, and over here we have a correlation matrix, which are really unique features that I've never seen before in another analyzing plugin. Anyhow, let's go ahead and take a listen to the demo audio that I have here. We're going to cover this audio. It's a mixture of Foley and sound design, and then we're going to go over and actually make a music upmix from the music mix that we made for the producer bundle video. So let's play back this demo right here, and after that we're going to look at the features within Halo Upmix, Halo Downmix, SEQ-S, and ISL, and a little bit of Halo Vision. Okay, so you saw me fiddle around with some of the plugins here. Now let's go ahead and take this from the top. We're going to start off with a stereo track right here, which is this sound, which, believe it or not, is just coming out of synthesizer. So you get rain, and then these thunder noises. Okay. Oh, that one's actually quite good. Let's play that back. Okay, so we have this coming out of a stereo track into an upmix track. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this right here. I'm going to press Shift Delete, and I'm going to show you how to take that stereo 2 track and bring it into 7.1 or 7.1.2 or whatnot. So I'm going to create a bus or a group inside Cubase. Here I have the configuration settings, so I can do this 7.1, 7.1, 7.02, 7.12, 7.14. So I can go all the way up there. I could also do 5 or 5.1, but in this case, I want to go as far as I can. I'm going to go up to 7.1.2, and I'm going to call this NUGEN Demo. Okay. And here I have that track. And from my synths, now I can go to the output of that and set it to be the NUGEN demo track, which is, as we said, it's 7.1.2. Okay. From here, we can just simply load up Halo Upmix. And the audio that was in stereo, for now, let's play back. Will get upmixed. So it's as simple as that. Let me show you Hello Vision for a second, so you can see what is going on. So without NUGEN Upmix, you'd see that only the left and right channel are available. Now, when I turn it on, there you can see that all the other channels have been activated, including the LFE, although that's very, very low in volume. Now, here, with the upmixer, what I can do is select the width of certain parameters, or how much is sent to the rear surround sound channels. I could also change the diffusion. I could apply a shelf filtering. I could also engage with the LFE channel and split it to cut off the high end on it, which is something that is highly recommended because, for example, some speakers and some consumer systems will actually output the full range LFE channel, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's our responsibility to then apply a high cut filter around 90-ish hertz per se and remove some of that high end. That way we don't get other phase issues. Anyway, so here we have also control over the arc link, so you can control multiple arcs at the same time. Let's take a listen to that. Okay, so you can see that we have individual control over different parameters and also global control with the arc link. Now, Upmix is pretty smart. When it opens, it usually opens to the correct mix type that you would need. Okay, now here we have control over the left, center, and the right channel. In this case, since we have everything in the center, it should come up here, right? In the center. It should be pushed into the center channel. And when I widen this up, we can completely remove the center channel and have everything feed into the left and right channel. What this means is that now we're going to be creating essentially like a phantom center and using that kind of like how we would with the stereo pair of speakers. Now, another cool tip right here would be to look at the haze right here. You see how there's nothing right here. Once I bring it to the center, the information is focused now in the center channel. All right, let's make this more extreme. Let's open up all the surrounds and the rears as well. So you can really see how that's working. Now, Halo Vision has a hazy view as well. Let me show you. So you can more clearly see this. Okay, now inside Upmix, let's go back to the all views over here. I can control also the diffusion, like I said. Shelf, the shelf filter right here. Let's just make this a little bit less wide. So I can make things that are a little bit more dull or make it a little bit brighter. It really depends on the information you're putting into the channel. But usually what people typically like to do is cut off some of the high end in the rears, simply because that's how our ears work. Now, there's also a shelf over here. But this shelf over here is for the left top surround and the right top surround. You could also change the phase information here. So you can raise the height of the audio. So that's actually quite interesting, because without this feature, we can really hear how now this audio is a bit low, and now with it, it's pulled up. So it's quite interesting that it works like that. So for those of you who are wondering how we're getting this perception, it's because we're using binaural rendering on via the Dolby Atmos render, and then through the VST ambient decoder from Cubase. If you're using a DAW, I think Pro Tools, I think what you're required to do is have two different pieces of software. One is the software that goes inside Pro Tools, and the other one's the Dolby Render. So I'm going to show you a little bit more about setting that up later. For those of you who are new to like music production and upmixing to Atmos for music production. But for now, let's look at the NUGEN Audio software. So yeah, we've basically explained how Halo Upmix works right here, and also how you can add height to Upmix, and a little bit about the LFE channel. Now, the other thing I want to show you here is the monitor section right here. We can monitor the source, the upmix, and the downmix as well. And why is this? It's because Halo Upmix, while it's an upmixer, it doesn't destroy your previous mix in 2.0 or 5.1, whatever that is. So you can be safe assured that when you upmix, you're going to have a good result when that mix is eventually brought down to a 2-track or a 5.1 system again. And over here we have some color coding, also some output routing. So for the most part, it does a good job at auto detecting. But if you need to change something, you can always go and change the routing right here. Okay. You also have downmix coefficients. You can change it to be 0, -3, -6, or -infinite, depending on the channel and the how do you say, the project and audio that you're working on. Okay. So let's go ahead and close this. Now let's move on to SEQ-S. Let's add another group track, and let's add a 7.1 track or 7.0 track, whatever you like. I'm going to go with 7.1 for now. And let's call this NUGEN 7.1. Okay. And then I'll send the output to the synth again to the 7.1 track. Okay. So here we are on the 7.1 track. Let's just click on a different part right here. Okay. Let's add Halo Upmix. Okay. So here we see here that Upmix loaded to a 7.1 preset. Now let's go ahead and add SEQ-S. And you'll see here, if I go to the sign, we have the 7.1 channels available to us. Now I can apply curves to specific channels. Let's say I just wanted to do the right channel, I could do so. And that's quite obvious, right? Let's go ahead and assign it to something that's a little bit more different. Let's do it on the left, on the left surround and the left surround rear. There we go. So with this EQ, you can be very, how do you say, subtle, or you could be quite abrasive with what you're doing. Now, with this content, it doesn't sound that harsh because it's rain. It's a little bit soft on the ears. But if you're doing something that's a little bit more pronounced, it's going to be very, very noticeable. So let's go to the part here where we have the impacts. Lower that down. So there you go. That's quite a difference. Now, here inside the options here, we have a match EQ. So let me show you how that works. Let's go ahead and, or there's a match and a morph EQ. Let's go ahead and assign this to everything for now. And let's grab a curve like so. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the beginning right here. And let's say I want to begin this scene per se with the thunder and not with the rain. I want to hear the thunder first and then the rain. So what I'll do is I'll apply a curve like so, and then I'll morph into an open spectrum like so. Okay, so I can press play right here, and then it'll do the morph. I could also tell how many seconds I want it to take before it morphs. I'll do 5 seconds. Oops, it did the opposite of what I wanted it. Okay, let's go and go from low to having the highest cut. Hold on. There we go. Let's go ahead and give this a go. Okay. So there you go. It's quite interesting how we can do that. For this, you probably want to set them up in the opposite way, but it's all right. So you see there, we went from, for an example, thunder to rain. So it's a useful tool for when you're changing scenes. It's also very helpful, for example, if you're having a character that's going from inside to outside space. So keep that in mind. Now for the EQ match feature, let's reset the plugin real quick. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go to match. And then under please choose, we can record a snapshot, not Snapchat. Let's go ahead and press right here. Okay. And then we can go to a different part of the section right here. And then we can apply this. So you see we created a signal that's much brighter. We could also invert to do that type of match that's more similar to what we're listening to. So that's quite drastic, but there you go. That works. I'm probably gonna lower that a bit in post, but yeah, that's how the EQ match works. And then again, we can morph back into a different section. So let's go. Let's say we wanted to have rumble at the beginning, and then we want to morph into the regular EQ. There we go. Or we could do the opposite. Let's go ahead and do invert the curve. And let's see if we want to play back this part here. But have it be more focused on the high end. We could do so as well. So there you go. That's how that works. We do, add frequencies or not, sorry, enhance frequencies or, decrease them. Okay, there you go. Let's go ahead and close this right here. And we're going to take a look at ISL itself. So by default, the preset, I believe, is this. So we have a few parameters here. We have control over the global limiting. We could also use the input gain to boost or cut the signal. Decrease, not cut. This is not a filter. We could also set the true peak limiter here. We can analyze the reduction with a meter or with the curve right here. Okay. Now, if we go back to the parts here that are overly loud, we can use the listen mode to listen to the difference. And if we put the limiter down, it becomes much more apparent. There's also a listen mode to check on auto. So no matter what changes you do to the limiting, you're still monitoring at the same level. Okay, so that's quite good. Let's bring down the input gain a bit. Now, here's some interesting and some important things. Here's the look ahead. And the release. The release on auto is quite well. If we turn it off and use the release here. It can be ducked a really, really long time. So that's quite good. Auto works really well for most circumstances though. There's also a link between the center and the sides. All right. And finally, as you've seen over here, there's an output monitor as well for the input. So it's quite easy to understand. It's compact, sounds clean. We don't really have to worry too much about anything really. Again, the plugin loads up very, very smartly. Here I have the, I think I just made up that word. Here I have the ISO inside of 7.1.4. Dolby Atmos render, or after it. Typically wouldn't use it like this, but I just had it there for demonstration purposes. Now, here I have the 7.1 upmix of the stereo synth that I made earlier before the tutorial. And if I sent out those synths here to the synth upmix, we can see that the ISO has a few less outputs, and that's because it automatically mapped to 7.1. Likewise, if we had a 5.1 channel, it would also map with 5.1. And the same thing if we have it on a stereo track, we put ISO here, it maps to a stereo track. So just depending on your configuration that you like, you can have it work with that. You could also change the routing here if it's possible in your channel count. And here we have control over the algorithm right there. And also, as with most of NUGEN plugins, you can change the color scheme on it to something that suits your needs. So let's go ahead and close this. Now, last but not least, let's take a look at the Downmix. Halo Downmix is also a very straightforward and easy to use tool. We have our 7.1.4 channels over here, and we're getting downmix to stereo. If we look at the Halo Vision, we can see that we only have left and the right channel, whereas before, if we bypass that downmix, we were using more channels. Now, we're missing the rears for now because we don't have, let's say, the 7.1.4 sitting over here. So let's go ahead and create a 7.1.4 bus. Okay, and we're gonna play Halo Upmix. Just exaggerate this so we get stuff in the rears. Okay, and let's just send that to Synthomix. Okay. So there we go. Now we have stuff in the rears. Okay. So here we can see the inputs, and we can also monitor them. Cut off the center channel, the right, the left one. If we want to solo the channels, it's quite easy. We just go over here to the output or the mixer, and we can solo the channel. So let's solo the center channel, left and right channel, left and right surround, left and right surround rear, top front, top rears. All right. So there's plenty of stuff to look at. It's a little bit more heavy on the eyes than the upmixer, and that's because we do have more parameters that we can change. For example, here we can change the mixing or the difference between the left and the right channel here, or we could keep them together and lock them in with the locker here. We could also filter out the channels for the left and right surround, left and right rear, top left and top right front, and top left and top right rear. So this is very, very handy. Now over here we also have the phase or the polarity switch. So if at any point we felt like for example, the left and right surround rears were coming out of phase with the rest of the track, we could flip the polarity on them. We could also change the filter with a shelf. And we can be quite drastic, as you heard there. So make sure to bring that a little bit down in post-production. So yeah, it's quite wonderful that we can work this easily. There's also delays right here. So we can delay those channels if we find that they are messing around with their phase as well. So we don't just get the polarity switches, we get real in-depth control of our signal. And there you can hear how it's used in the wrong method. Push it way too much. So now if I want to see or seek to find the right milliseconds according to Halo, I can go ahead and press seek, press my signal, you can see there that Halo did a much better job than what I did on finding the right delays between the different channels. We could also confirm this with Halo Vision if we look at the correlation meters, or just simply using our own ears. Let's go ahead and reset this real quick. Here we have control over the LFE channel, like I said. For Halo Upmix, you have control over the filter and with this as well. So let's go ahead and listen to the LFE channel. It's very subtle in this case. Let's go ahead and go into a part where we have some of the impacts playing. You can barely hear it. We could bring that louder if we wanted to. Do remember, for television, I do believe that some of this does get completely removed. Let's go ahead and filter that out. So you see there, we removed some of that high energy that we did not need for that. Now in our monitor, we have our input, our output, our surround, and our downmix. So here's a downmix. Input surround. So along with the LFE channel, we have the high pass filter as well. And a mono filter. Which helps control the width of our downmix going into stereo track. So it's really helpful. It's like a little version of the mono filter just built into it. So yeah, there's quite a lot of features here. Let's go ahead and close this down now. Let's go ahead and use the producer bundle demo that I made for NUGEN. And what I'll do is I'll grab all that, bust them, and turn them into an Atmos mix, so that those of you who are new to surround work and Atmos work for music can get used to that workflow. So let's go ahead and close this session. All right, so here we are inside the project I made for the NUGEN producer bundle video. And what we'll do now is I will take this stereo track, stereo song, and we're gonna upmix it to 7.1.4 Dolby Atmos. And this is really simple to do in Cubase. It's also simple to do in other programs like Pro Tools. It's just that people tend to mystify it, and they will, try to make it seem like it's more difficult, when in fact it's not just more difficult, it's simply more complex. It's not more difficult. Go to Project, select ADM authoring for Dolby Atmos, and you can click on the Setup Assistant, and you're pretty much good to go, clicking just 3 buttons. So let's go ahead and start off with listening to the track. Of course, I'm going to show you how we can upmix some of these sounds with NUGEN software, like Halo Upmix, and also how to downmix with Halo Downmix. It's pretty straightforward, kind of like what we did earlier in the video, but in this case, it's going to be just with the switch that instead of we're going to process sound design or audio, we're going to be processing musical instruments. So let's go ahead and play back the demo track. Okay, so you guys get the gist of it. It's inspired by one of those big pop songs at the moment, and I think I muted the bass by accident. So with the bass, it sounds like this. Okay, so what we're going to do first is to open up the authoring window. So we're going to go to ADM authoring for Dolby Atmos, and we're going to set up with the Setup Assistant. So this is going to tell you that you need to create a render channel. Now, within Cubase, you're able to create a render channel and hosts the Dolby Atmos Render app within it. What happens is that for most DAWs, you have to have a plugin that goes out to a renderer, and that renderer might be on the software itself, like in Cubase, it's integrated into Cubase, or in the case of Pro Tools, you could have it on a separate computer or as a standalone app and run it there. That way you can, configure multiple computers together. So it just depends on how you're going to work. In this case, since I'm just going to be using one computer, I'm just going to be using the stuff from Cubase. So I'm going to add the main mix channel with render, and then I'm going to add a bed. Now the bed, you can think about it more like your traditional stereo mix, where you can pan things and they stay there. Whereas with the sample 1.4 channel, you can add these objects in there, and these objects can be moved around and panned in different positions, and those are the ones that are going to be sounding, like spatial audio per se, in a more extreme level. So let's go ahead and press OK here, and Cubase will create a sample 1.4 output bus for me. So if I go to my audio connections, you can see here that my master track has been replaced, and now I have a sample 1.4 track, and that is now my monitor or my main mix. Okay. Now, when I close that down and I go to my mixer, you will see that I have the Dolby sample 1.4 render right there, and there should also be a bed somewhere on here. Let me look for it. Standard bed. So it's right here. So what I'll do is I'll just bring this over to my right zone, so it's a little bit easier for me to explain this stuff. Okay. So here you have what would be my central pre-master for my stereo workflow, and that is feeding into the standard bed, which is a sample 1.2. And then that bed is going to the actual render. Now, you don't need to have this pre-master, it's just the way that I work. I've been working like this basically since 2016, where I have a pre-master and then a master output. So it's just a little bit easier for me to work, and that way if I want to apply certain effects before the master, I could do so. Or, apply filtering before the master, I could do so. Anyway, and then here in the standard bed, like I said, we're going into the sample 1.4 render. Let's remove the master for a second. That way we're not, click on it by accident. Okay, there we go. So there we go. Now when we play back, what? The mix is still in stereo. Well, that's because everything is still routed to the two stereo channels. So what I want to do is use an upmixer plugin to upmix some of those sounds, and I also want to turn objects or sounds into objects and incorporate them into the Dolby Atmos render. So what I'll do here is one thing, I'm gonna set binaural because we're listening on headphones. That way I can monitor appropriately here. And so you guys can also listen to this on YouTube properly. And then now what I can do is come up here and create a bus. So I'm going to make a fake pads bus. So what I'll do is I'll set up a sample 1.2 bus, and I'm going to send it to my standard bed, because I want to turn this into an upmix that includes my strings and my Wurlitzer right now. I know they're not pads, but I just want to create like a sound bed for this. So let's go ahead and call this Halo pads. Okay, so we got that there. And now what I'll do is I'll feed instruments into that channel. So I'm going to grab that Wurlitzer. I'm going to send it to my Halo pads 7.1.2 bus. And then I'll do the same with this strings right here. Boom. And now you can see that we went from having a stereo panner to having a surround panner. So I could move this, to different parts of the space that we have here in the bed. Now, once again, if I play back the sound, we still only have the stereo tracks. Okay, so what I'll do now is add the Halo Upmix to upmix these sounds right here. And now you're going to see that more of the channels here will get, information coming to them. And if I push everything into the stereo channels, it's back to being stereo. So again, it's extremely easy to work with Halo Upmix. Let's turn these tracks back on, or the signal back on. You can see there that I have the engage those left top and right top surrounds. And now they're gone. And you can see here that there's some information going to the LFE channel. But I could also turn that off like this. So I don't want that sound going to LFE channel. I can turn it off like that. I could also apply the filtering to it. And eventually, if I cut it way too low, we're not going to get any signal. So this filter goes down to 10 Hertz. All right, for now though, I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to add the information back into the surround channels. And then if I want to add them to the rear surrounds, I can just use this arc right here. And now you can see those channels are getting filled up. So it's as easy as that to use Halo Upmix and to see what is going on inside of the render. It's such a pleasure to work with. I think I might not have explained that well at the beginning part of the video, but I think I did a much better job here. So that's what we get when we're doing a little bit of upmixing. Now let's go ahead and move on to the objects. So an object will have to be routed to firstly the standard bed, and after it's routed to the standard bed, then the renderer will pick it up and we can add it to the actual Dolby Atmos render here. So let's grab the trumpet for now, since it's such an obvious instrument. And I'm going to send it to the bed. Right. Because before, I think it was, if I open up the MIDI guitar over here, they're still going to the original buses that I have inside of my Cubase project. So they're going to their regular buses. So what I've done here is I've avoided that instrument bus or group bus that I have, and I'm sending the trumpet to the standard bed. Now from here, if I open up the ADM authoring for Dolby Atmos window, I can go ahead and select Add Objects. I'm going to call this the trumpet. Okay, I'll use the source track, and in this case, my trumpet pulls up right there. I can set it to be in a group. I can set it to be inside of the music group, and I want it to be near, right? I can choose different binaural settings if I want it to be near, mid, or far. In this case, I want it to be near. Okay, let's close this down. And now what I'll do right here is go into my panner. And we'll do a little bit of automation. Let's move this go around for a second. Yeah, somewhere like there. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll start off the track on one side, and then I'll move it to the right. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, that's a bit little, you know, not that practical for this, but it's okay. We're just using it as an example. Now you can appreciate here all the movements within that track. Now what you'll notice is that we're using a zero track, so we're using two objects. If this was a mono instrument, we'd only use one object. And we have a total of 128 objects that we can use, but of course, 10 of them always have to be a bed. Okay, we can control object size, so check this out. So this controls basically how loud and how large psychoacoustically the object is. We have control over the width. So if I wanted to narrow the width, I could also narrow it here. Sorry, it's right here. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Now let's try to do something that's a cool effect. Let's get rid of all this automation. Yes. And what I'll do is we're gonna apply some rotation to this. Let's go ahead and open the panner again. I'm gonna apply some rotation here. And what we'll do is we're gonna go from being down here, rotated. You see that? So this is really helpful when you're working with objects inside movies. So it's pretty straightforward to see that maybe there's an object that's angled. So then you're going to angle it here. You're going to rotate it. You could also tilt it on the X and the Y axis, both of them. And you could also tilt them like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, tilt it around here. But as I'm going to tilt it, I'm also going to start flipping the Y, okay? So let's go ahead and start off over here. Let's have it like that. So let's go ahead and play this back. It's a bit extreme for my taste. Let's try it again from the beginning here. Okay, and now with the second go, what I'll do is I'll fix the tilt here. So this is really great. We just created a moving object inside the Dolby Atmos render. Now, what I'll do here is I'll keep that trumpet like that. But now I'm going to grab the muted guitars and I'm going to put them inside a 7.1 bus, and then we're going to start equalizing them with SEQ-S to go into, be boosted into different channels. So let's go ahead and play this back right here. Okay, so we have that. Let's close this guy down. I'm going to add a new track. Let's call this 7.1. And I'm going to call this Guitars 7.1 Upmix. Okay, and then we're going to add Halo Upmix. Of course, I have to first move that into the Guitars 7.1 Upmix channel. I was wondering, why wasn't this working? Okay, so there we go. So you see there that all those channels are engaged except the top surrounds. Let's go ahead and go into the upmixer. I'll turn off the LFE channel. And I'm gonna send this a little bit more back, and I'm gonna get it out of the way of the center. And now what I'll do is I'm going to add the SEQ-S right here. And from here, I can select different channels and EQ those specific channels. So if I wanted to add body to the left surround and the right surround rears, I could go ahead and do so like that. And if I wanted to add, let's say, I'll set the left and right channel activity there. Now, if I wanted to, let's say, boost the high end a little bit more on the left surround than the right surround, now I have a different EQ curve to do that. And if I want to EQ my left and right channel differently, I could go ahead and do that as well. If I want to make it less present, I could do it as easy as this. So I have actually a little bit more control over the EQ on those specific channels. So really like that. I can work like this, and it's just so easy to work with. And again, if I'm adding more instruments, let's say I add the clean electric guitar here, but I don't necessarily want to add the entire send or the entire signal into that group, I can use a send to send that 7.1 Upmix. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to open up the track here. Then I'm going to add a send. I'm going to add it to the guitar. 7.1 Upmix. And you can see it's being sent there. Now, an important tip here, if you were going to be using some of these instruments inside with the Dolby Atmos panner, there are certain settings here to so that the panning is the same. So you can come in here and change the copy VST multi-panner setting. If you're using the multi-panner for a channel, let's say I have it on a different bed, let's say I added a reverb, I can go ahead and make sure that that is panned accordingly. Or if I have, let's say, percussion, I have it, panned and moving accordingly. So now let's create a reverb bus for this. So in Cubase, I'll make a group. I'll be a sample 1.2 group. I'll send it to the standard bed. And let's name this Paragon, because we'll be using an instance of Paragon. Okay, so here is Paragon. It's up to 7.1.2 reverb, so it works really, really great for anything that's from 0 all the way up to that. And the good thing about it is that you can mix all the channels right here, or you can see the metering on all the channels. So it's quite fantastic. If I go to IR or IO, I could also apply different filtering, different decay times, different tempo times, crosstalk for all the channels. So it's spectacular that you have control over so many different channels at once. So let's go ahead and close this for a second. And then let's play back the track right here. And now we can add different instruments. Let's also set the trumpets to Paragon. Let's remove the medium reverb from there. And right here we can, like I said, change the settings here. Copy the VST multi-panner settings. And now when we go to the render, we're going to see that we have reverb also on here. It's at a large chamber. And that just sounds absolutely beautiful. We haven't even really tried to do any mixing. I've just been explaining things, and that just sounds really great. Again, we have control over the pre-delay, decay, tempo. This is for the reverb time, and then we can go ahead and change that inside every single channel. So we have basically a master parameters here, and then over here we have control to make things even longer. So let's say I wanted to make the reverb longer on the left and right surround rears. I could go ahead and do so. I could also do the opposite. Let's set this to 1. And if I wanted to make it seem like front is a bit more far away, I could go ahead and make the left and right a little bit farther. and notice how it rings out. So depending on your use case, you might want it to be, if the object's in front of you, you might want the reverb at the end over here to be a little bit longer or delayed. So you can go ahead and change the decay and also the pre-delay, right? Because if a sound is coming at you from the front, the reverb that's coming from the back is going to come a little bit later. So let's go ahead and reset these for a second. Okay, and let's add a bit of delay here. Oh, no, I want it to be milliseconds. So it's a pretty extreme setting right there. So you can tell obviously what is going on. Let's do the same with the left and right channel. Now this would be a ridiculously huge room. So you can hear how towards the back end, it takes a lot longer to decay and there is more delay to get there. So these are just some of the basics to getting into Dolby Atmos mixing. And yeah, I think we did a pretty good job covering a little bit of everything, and we covered a lot of the very important NUGEN Surround Suite plugins. As I mentioned earlier, I do hope that eventually we get maybe a surround producer bundle or something, or incorporate Halo Vision and Paragon into the surround suite, because I do think that they're very good tools for that. But for now, Halo Upmix, Halo Downmix, SEQ-S, and ISO. Oh, by the way, I didn't show you how to add ISO here inside a music project, but it'd be pretty straightforward. You can either add it to a 7.1.4 bed, or you can add it to the 7.1.2 standard bed. So let's say you had a standard bed for all your drums, you can add the ISL2 in there. All right, that reverb is just messy now, but it sounded really beautiful. For this mix, it's a little much, but anyway, that's how you can add ISL2. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, the plugins that NUGEN offers are pretty well coded, so they adapt really easy to the different channel counts. And I think so far I haven't actually had to set up anything differently from within the options over here. So I'm pretty happy about that. The routing is automatically quite well. Okay, that's going to be it for me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it, that you learned a lot here with us at Music Marketing TV. If you liked the video, give the video a like, of course. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content like this. And to make sure you stay tuned in, hit that notification bell so you're notified. Anyway, I'm Kevin Ochoa with Music Marketing TV, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.